Hello, this is the customary art practice entry, some key updates, etc., etc. I'm going to read what I've written here and then say a little bit more, and then that's it. I like to give a little bit of a heads up. So, hi, it's been a little while since I announced a phase of developing theory on this kind of platform, building towards a presentation I'm planning to give in June. It's not uncommon for me to report that it's been challenging to keep momentum up with the art practice and the stuff that I do put out, uh, as much as the rate of productivity always falls under what I have in mind. So I confess that that's often bothered me a lot because I know what I can do when I'm able to invest enough time and energy into it. And I do believe that the ideas I've planted relating uh, to health and vitality, which I'll come back to in a bit, can amount to something very worthwhile beyond my own personal needs or for doing stuff that I'm into. I'm also inclined to think that this more so than ever. I'm also inclined to think this more so than ever, given the current global situation. So, my initial effervescent optimism when a good plan springs to mind often fails to factor in life's varying demands that it's at odds with, which is a classic story for many aspiring individuals, I have no doubt. But while I have the chance to reflect on on the morning of writing this, the developments in the past week or so, um, in how I cultivate a healthier work ethic and personal outlook, along with the along with figuring out a more sustainable way to look after myself generally, have anchored the status of my professional endeavours by leading me back to the same timeless wisdom healthy, uh, smart people have always touted about being calm and present and always in the now. This stuff is elegantly simple in concept, but it can take more than a few meltdowns to reconsider it again and again and again. More mindful now of my own slip ups, having overloaded myself internally. What this really reveals this time around is how, when I've talked in the past about a subject pertaining to health as a means to self enable or empower, whatever manner of nutrition, exercise, environmental exposure, meditation, or sleep measures uh, that plucked my interest under the umbrella of what's probably going to become a shorthand now as biohacking. Um, all of which, incidentally, an immune system can thrive on, uh, can all be dialed down to the same common end game. The point in which you go, hey, this stuff really works. And that end game to me is best described as a kind of wakeful relaxation. So I can set a platform for where that puts the art practice and why this warrants me talking about this. I want to cast back to a week ago when I started typing up a journal entry about wanting a healthier work ethic, as I've already mentioned. The cruel irony for me was I typed that out on my journey north to a music festival, which was a long series of coach and train journeys that ultimately led to me having to turn back when changing trains at Crewe, as a fever crept in rather rapidly. And unfortunately, I had to accept the situation. I wasn't remotely fit enough to go ahead, so I had to turn back. This was before the current cap we have on large gatherings and non essential travel. Uh, so then I embarked on the ordeal, which was the journey home through rush hour and many more hours aside, so I could self-isolate and be ill. The reason I consider this as cruel irony is that me being the health fanatic, mindful of all those immune boosting measures, in the 2 or so weeks leading up to me getting ill, I don't remember relaxing once. So whatever it was I caught, I do feel like I kind of brought it on. And as such, it looks like hundreds of pounds have also gone up in smoke, as is my pretty much my whole annual festival budget. Obviously, whether or not any more are even going ahead this year anyway remains to be seen. But it's a shitter. It should be mentioned the key factor that propelled me to my current obsession with nutrition began about a year ago because of reoccurring issues with my immune system and inflammation. Overall, fortunately, that has paid off, but this is where an idea of depicting a middle ground sort of state of being that we all seem to thrive in fits in, because I find the more one tries to optimize one element of their life, the more all the other suboptimal aspects of living reveal themselves for what they are. And this conjures the same common imagery in my head of fluctuating patterns, and wherever the focal point in my own material feels ambiguous but somewhat absolute at the same time. There's endless notes I've made from my own personal outlook and philosophy relating to this. And I believe it has a poignant significance to our cultural perception of health, and so many ramifications from them. But for the purpose of this announcement, this is where the current project underway kicks in again. So, that project. The mural I've been scheduled to do in Sandwich this April, which no prizes for guessing might not happen this April. Whether or not it's rescheduled or the work morphs into something else remains to be seen. But one way or another, work is underway, definitely underway, and the results of which will become more evident. Likewise, the presentation this summer, which I've spoken of, but here's a peek of some drawing progress. And this. Had some minor distractions this morning. So, 2 final notes. Thankfully, of course, I've been on the mend and hope to soon help and contribute in some way locally as well. I am, as it stands, going into work next week as normal, but there should there be any extra idle time on my hands at home in the near future, I have worked out a recipe that I think deserves sharing. I don't care for precise recipes. What I want to share is something I haven't found online, and I had to figure it out myself. But it's cheap, easy, very tasty, and very good for you. And as far as I know, it's pretty low on the carbon footprint. I fucking love cooking, so this might be something to do. Then again, it might not be. Just sort of floating that one out there. Secondly, I hope actually, I don't like cooking. I just like eating nice food, and I'm really good at it. Anyway, secondly, I hope my voice is a little more defined now than my previous entry. There has been some painful but encouraging progress with this situation here, which leads me to sign off and say, I hope you're taking care, blah, 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 and doing stuff if you can. Whatever you're doing, find some time to relax. Your immune system thrives on it. I'm going to go and sit in the sun until I become superhuman. Bye for now.